Chapter 3 of The Morganvill Vampires, The Glasshouse by Rachel Kane. Take 5. She woke up in the dark with a panicked flinch that sent the ice pack water sloshing in a bag now, dumping off her pillow and onto the floor. The house was quiet except for the creepy noises houses made at night. Outside, wind rattled the dry leaves on the trees, and she heard music coming from the other side of the bedroom door. Claire slid out of bed, fumbled for the lamp, and found one next to the bed, Tiffany-style glass, really nice. And the colorful glow chased away any nightmare fears she'd been trying to have. The music was slow and warm and contemplative, kind of guitar alternative. She got her shoes on, took a look in the dresser mirror, and got a nasty shock. Her face still hurt, and it was obvious why. Her right eye was swollen, the skin around it purple. Her split lip looked shiny and unpleasantly thick, too. Her face, always pale, looked even paler than normal. Her short, pixie-cut black hair had a serious case of bedhead. She fluffed it out into something like order. She'd never really been much for makeup, even when she'd been stealing Mom's to try it on, but today maybe a little foundation and concealer couldn't hurt. She looked ragged and beaten and homeless. Well, it was nothing but the truth, after all. Claire took a deep breath and opened her bedroom door. Lights were on in the hall. Warm and glowing gold, the music was coming from downstairs in the living room. She checked a clock hanging on the wall. At the far end, it was after midnight. She'd slept for more than 12 hours and missed all her classes. Not that she'd have wanted to show up looking like this even if she hadn't been so paranoid about Monica following her around. But she'd need to hit the books later. At least the books didn't hit back. Her bruises felt better, and in fact, her head only hurt a little. Her ankle was still the worst of it, sending sharp, glassy jabs of pain up her leg with every step down the stairs. She was halfway down the stairs when she saw a boy sitting on the couch where Shane had been sprawled before. He had a guitar in his hands. Oh, the music, she'd thought. It was a recording, but no, it was real and live, and he was playing it. She never heard live music before, not really playing, not like this. He was wonderful. She watched him frozen because he clearly didn't even know that she existed yet. It was just him and the guitar and the music. And if she'd had to put a name to what she could see on his face, it'd be something poetic, like longing. He was blonde, his hair cut, kind of like Shane's, in a careless mop. Not as big as Shane's, and not as muscled, though he was maybe as tall. He was wearing a t-shirt, too, black with a beer logo, blue jeans, no shoes. He stopped playing, head down, and reached for the open beer on the table in front of him. He toasted to empty air. "Happy birthday to you, man." He tossed back 3 swallows and put the bottle down. "Here's to house arrest." "What the hell? On and get on." Claire coughed. He turned, startled, and saw her standing there on the stairs. His frown cleared after a second or two. "Oh, you're the one Shane said wanted to talk about the room. Hey, come on down." She did, trying not to limp, and when she got into the full light, she saw his quick, intelligent blue eyes catalog the bruises. He didn't say a word about them. "I'm Michael," he said, "and you're not 18, so this is going to be a real short conversation." She sat fast, heart pounding. "I'm in college," she said. "I'm a freshman. My name is Don't Bullshit Me, and I don't care what your name is. You're not 18. It's a good bet that you're not even 17. We don't take anybody in this house who isn't legal." He had a deep voice, warm, but at least right now hard. "Not that you'd be signing on to Orgy Central, but sorry, me and Shane have to worry about things like that. All it takes is you living here and somebody even hinting there's something going on." "Wait," she blurted. "I wouldn't do that or say that. I'm not looking to get you guys in trouble. I just need—" "No," he said. He put the guitar aside in its case and latched it shut. "I'm sorry, but you can't stay here. House rules." She'd known it was coming, of course, but she But she'd let herself think Eve had been nice, Shane hadn't been horrible, and the room was so nice, but the look in Michael's eyes was as final as it got. Complete and utter rejection. She felt her lip trembling and hated herself for it. Why couldn't she be a badass, stone-cold bitch? Why couldn't she stand up for herself when she needed to without breaking down into tears like a baby? Monica wouldn't be crying. Monica would be snapping some comeback at him, telling him that her stuff was already in the room. Monica would slap money down on the table and dare him to turn it down. Claire reached into her back pocket and pulled out her wallet. How much? She asked. Started counting bills. She had 20, so it looked like a lot. 300 enough? I can get more if I have to. Michael sat back, surprised, a little frown bracketing his forehead. He reached for his beer and took another sip while he thought about it. How? He asked. What? How would you get more? Get a job? Sell stuff? Not that she had much to sell, but in an emergency there was always the panic call to Mom. I want to stay here, Michael. I really do. She was surprised at the conviction in her voice. Yeah, I'm under 18, but I swear you won't have any trouble from me. I'll stay out of your way. I go to school and I study. That's all I do. I'm not a partier. I'm not a slacker. I'm useful. I'll help clean and cook. He thought about it, staring at her. He was the kind of person you could actually see thinking. It was a little scary, although he probably didn't mean it to be. There was something so adult about him, so sure of himself. No, he said. I'm sorry, kid, but it's just too much of a risk. Eve's only a little bit older than I am. Eve's 18. You're what, 16? Almost 17. If you were a little fluid on the definition of almost. I really am in college. I'm a freshman. Look, here's my student ID. He ignored it. Come back in a year. We'll talk about it then, he asked. Look, I'm sorry. What about the dorm? They'll try to kill me if I stay there, she said, and looked down at her clasped hands. They tried to kill me today. What? The other girls. They pushed me and shoved me down the stairs. Silence. They punched me and shoved me down the stairs. Silence. A really long one. She heard the creak of leather, and then Michael was on one knee next to the chair. Before she could stop him, he was probing the bump on her head, tilting it back so he could get a good and personal look at the bruises and cuts. What else? He asked. What? Besides what I can see. You're not going to drop dead on me, are you? Wow, sensitive. I'm okay. I saw the doctor and everything. It's just bruises and as a strained ankle, but they pushed me down the stairs and they meant it and they told me. Suddenly, Eve's words about vampires came back to her and made her trip over her tongue. The girl in charge told me that tonight I'd get what was coming for me. I can't go back to the dorms, Michael. If you send me back to the dorms, they'll kill me because I don't have any friends and I don't have any place to go. He stayed there for a few more seconds, looking her right in the eyes, and then retreated to the couch. He unlatched the guitar case again and cradled the instrument. She thought that was his comfort zone, right there with the guitar in his arms. These girls, do they go out in daylight? She blinked. You mean outside? Sure, they go to classes. Well, sometimes. Do they wear bracelets? She blinked. You mean like Eve's? Like Eve had hers behind on the table, so she picked up the leather band with its red symbol. Like these? I never noticed. They wear lots of stuff. She thought hard, and maybe she did remember something after all. The bracelets that didn't look like this, though. They were gold, and Monica and the Monicaettes all had them on their right wrists. She'd never paid much attention. Maybe bracelets with white symbols. Michael made the question casual. In fact, he bent his head and concentrated on tuning his guitar. It needed. Every note sounded perfect as it whispered out of the strings. Do you remember? No. She felt a pure burst of something that wasn't quite panic, wasn't quite excitement. Does that mean they have protection? He hesitated for a second, just long enough for her to know he was surprised. You mean like condoms? He asked. Doesn't everybody? You know what I mean. Her cheeks were burning. She hoped it wasn't obvious as it felt. Don't think I do. Eve said. He looked up sharply and those blue eyes were suddenly angry. Eve needs to keep her mouth shut. She's in enough danger as it is trolling around out there in goth gear. They think she's mocking them. If they hear she's talking. They who? Claire asked. It was his turn to look away. People, he said flatly. Look, I don't want your blood on my hands. You can stay here for a couple of days, but only until you find a place, right? And make it fast. I'm not running a halfway house for battered girls. I've got enough to worry about trying to keep Eve and Shane out of trouble. For a guy who made such beautiful music, he was bitter and a little scary. Claire put the money hesitantly on the table in front of them. He stared at it, jaw tense. The rent's $100 a month, he said. You buy groceries once a month, too. First month in advance. But you're not saying past that, so keep the rest. She swallowed and picked up 200, and of the 300, she'd counted out. Thanks, she said. Don't thank me, he said. Just don't get us into trouble. I mean it. She got up, went into the kitchen, and spooned chili into 2 bowls. Added the bowls to a tray along with a spoon and Coke, and brought it all back to set it on the coffee table. Michael just stared at it, then her. She sat down on the floor painfully and began eating. After a pause, Michael took his bowl and tasted it. Shane made it, Claire said. It's pretty good. Yeah, chili and spaghetti. That's pretty much all Shane can cook. You know how to make anything? Sure. Like lasagna, she said, and sort of hamburger hash thing with noodles and tacos. Michael looked thoughtful. Could you make tacos tomorrow? Sure, she said. I have class from 11 to 5, but I'll stop and pick some stuff up. He nodded, eating steadily, glancing up at her once in a while. I'm sorry, he finally said. About what? Being an asshole. Look, it's just that I have to be careful, really careful. You weren't being an asshole, she said. You were just trying to protect yourself and your friends. That's okay. That's what you're supposed to do. Michael smiled, and it transformed his face, made it suddenly angelic and wonderful. Dude, she thought in amazement. He's totally gorgeous. No wonder he's worried about her being underage. A smile like that, he'd be peeling girls off of him left and right. If you're in this house, you're my friend, he said. What's your name, by the way? Claire Danvers. Welcome to the Glasshouse, Claire Danvers, but only temporarily. Yeah, temporarily. They shared a smile, uneasily, and Michael cleared up the plates this time, and Claire went back up to her room to spread out her books on the built-in desk and start the day studying. She listened to him playing downstairs, the soft and heartfelt accompaniment to the night as she fell into the world she loved.